What's up, Cap?
John, good morning.
Okay, so let's talk your golf game. What's going on? You see, you look like you're ready. Like the second this segment is over, you look like you are ready to hit the links for the entire day and turn your phone off and sit there and go, "Oh God, Nelson's calling. I'm not going to answer the phone."
I wish I was, John, but I'm not, um, unfortunately. But I did play the other day on Wednesday, and I hit pretty good. Shot an 80, 89, so it was good, not great, but
Okay, so then, as someone who is a fellow golfer that doesn't get to play as much as you, what is your go-to club? What is your trouble club that you sit there and it's like, okay, I'm in a jam. I'm just going to pull out this club and do whatever I want to do with it. What is your utility club that gets you out of jams most of the time that you're the most comfortable with?
that's a good question, John. I don't know if I have one. Any club can be good on a certain day. I'd say I'm most comfortable with a 7-iron.
There you go.
Um, yeah, the longer the iron, the more likely it is to be going anywhere at once.
Yes, that is absolutely true. And I am right there with you. The 7-iron, true story. I didn't have a set of clubs growing up, but the neighbor, because I was left-handed, and everybody looked at me like, "Dude, you're left-handed. You're like not approaching the ball from the proper location." And our neighbors had two clubs. They had a pitching wedge and a 7-iron from a random set of lefty clubs that they like left or whatever, and they were the rusting in the garage. And they're like, "Here, take them." And so what we would do to learn the game is we would play with tennis balls, and we would hit the tennis balls over houses, and we would use the water mains as the holes. And so literally that's how we would learn how to go over obstacles and things like that, was with tennis balls and 7-irons. That was how I learned the game.
That's a good way to do it.
And
Less likely to break something too.
well, you ain't seen me play. Yeah. So I mean, but it was an interesting way to kind of learn the game and move forward in those kinds of things. So, what's your handicap, by the way?
I'm a 12.
Okay, and if you needed to improve, what do you need to improve on the most?
Um,
You good off the tee? You need long irons? What are we looking at here?
yeah, I mean, just depends on the day, doesn't it, John?
It does.
Putting is probably where I can make up the most strokes.
Okay,
The amount of 3 putts I have is,
right there with you. I'm
yeah,
awful. I'm awful at that.
yeah.
When it comes to your mentoring person, the mentoring Michael Parkhurst, what have you come to? And I'm trying to phrase it like the golf discussion we were having. What have you improved on the most as a mentor in your time with Greg and Beyond Goals? How have you improved your mentoring game as you have started this adventure with BGM?
Yeah, I think just being able to relate it to different kids, different levels, and how it all kind of relates, right? Of like even a college athlete preparing for something versus a pro athlete versus a 12-year-old trying to make a club team, or a 15-year-old trying to make varsity. It's just connecting everything, sometimes in simpler ways, but understanding, in the end, it's all pretty similar, of what leads to success, and the challenges and overcoming things.
So when it comes to how long did it take you to understand that when you look in the mirror at mentor Michael Parkhurst, that the messaging is pretty much similar, and that you can kind of take messaging and relay it to different folks and do it in different ways, but still get the same message across? How long did it take for you to learn that?
Um, it took some time. I think just, being at the high level, for such a long time, you kind of, forget a little bit, or, you're just not sure, right? Is it relatable, I
Yeah.
guess? right? But I think the more you work with kids, the more you understand it's all the same. We're all going through the same struggle. It's just at a different level, and just at a different intensity sometimes, and more pressure and things like that. But so it definitely took some time. But now that we're 2 years in now, so I feel like we've spoken to kids now at all different levels. So feeling much better about our approach and how we can help kids no matter their level.
So then, how much of your mentoring style is in Greg? How much of Greg's mentoring style is in you? Or do you guys just kind of sit there and go, okay, that's his thing. I can't do certain things that he can. And I know that, his skill set is different than mine. Or is there crossover? And have you learned from each other?
Yeah, we've definitely learned from each other because, we definitely, like everyone, you see things through your own lenses, right, and your own experiences, and that's how we base a lot of our teaching off is our own experiences. So, one thing that, just for as an example, right, Greg journaled throughout his whole career, and just hearing him speak about the benefits of journaling and why he did it and what he got out of it and how it can help kids. It's definitely something that I now recommend to my mentees, that I would have never thought of because I didn't journal. And I never did. So, just one example, but, the way that we talk sometimes and the examples that we bring up, right? So now I can use some of Greg's examples because I've heard it enough in group calls, and we share notes because we share some mentees, and just understanding what he speaks to kids about. And, it's definitely useful.
So and now that you've been doing this for 2 years, were you comfortable from the beginning in being a mentor and doing this in the Beyond Goals framework, or did it take a while for you to become adjusted and accustomed to what you and Greg want this to be and what it is becoming?
Definitely more comfortable. I think that in the beginning, like you're a little nervous, like, is it going to relate? Is it going to hit home? Are kids going to be bored? Right? Can they sit there and for 30 minutes on a call, right? And a lot of it is over Zoom, and understand and be engaged, right? And how do you approach someone that is not engaged and doesn't talk and answers questions with one word, similar to how my son does, right? Those can be a little challenging, and but I think that we've seen enough of those now and experienced enough of that where, I feel pretty confident going into any situation and any setting, really. I've been a little bit more comfortable in public speaking the latter half of my career, and now this has helped me with that as well. Even get a little bit better just speaking in front of groups and teams and different situations.
When you have those mentees that aren't comfortable in speaking, either in a 20 seconds, 30 seconds, letting you know really what's going on, and they only give you those one word answers, yes, no, I don't know, one of those kinds of individuals, and it just depends on the comfort level of that particular young male or female about how they want to give out information, because some folks are just uncomfortable doing those kinds of things.
Totally.
How do you break through and tell them it's okay to share, it's okay to let me know what's going on, I'm here to help you, it's not here to cut you down, it's here to help lift you up and have you continue to grow?
Yeah, slowly. I think you have to let everyone get there in their own time, right? And I think that naturally, like you said, some are way more outgoing and into it and engaged, and some of them aren't. And that doesn't mean that they're necessarily not engaged or interested, right? It's just they could be shy and quiet, or they could be nervous, right? Of maybe they saw us play,
Like,
and
hey, I got Michael Parkhurst and Greg Garza are asking me questions. I don't know, I'm in the same room with them.
yeah, I mean, there's definitely some of that. There's also equal amounts, John. I have no clue who we are.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute here. They have no idea who the two of you are.
Correct.
Wow. Do you bring like a file folder that has like your Wikipedia page or like something from the MLSPA or MLSsoccer.com, hey, this is who I am? Or do you have
That
like a photo of you in your Atlanta United jersey that you hold up next to your head?
It's that's the only awkward part about mentoring is when I mentor a new kid and I have to kind of understand, or I want them to understand who I am and my experiences, just because I think then they're more apt to care, listen, take it all in, rather than if I'm just some Joe Schmo that mom and dad told to get on the computer and talk with. So asking them, are you familiar with my career? Because I don't, I'll get into it and then tell you if you have no idea, which is great, which is fine.
Yeah.
I don't expect that but if you do know, then I'm not going to waste the time of like telling you who I am and where I played. So that's a little bit awkward every time doing that because, but whatever.
Hi. My name is Michael Parkhurst, and you shake your hand, and it's like, and here's my Wikipedia page, and here's what I look like wearing an Atlanta United jersey. I mean, but at the same time, I think that, to your point, I think that mentoring, there is a bit of initial, anyway, salesmanship that's involved, because you have to impress upon parents, athlete, that them being with you is worth your time. I mean, they could sit there. They might know you from your playing career. They may not know you from Adam's house cat.
Yeah.
I don't know who Adam is, or if he's got if he has a house cat.
Might.
But it's like all of this. There's that initial part of, okay, there's that. Why am I here? Do I trust this individual? There's always that initial awkwardness in whatever level we're talking about here.
Totally. And that's part of it though, right? Of making them feel comfortable.
And that it's, is that a generational thing as well? Is that or a demographical thing as well? Are older mentees or prospective mentees and families, are they more comfortable with you initially? Are the younger ones more comfortable with you? Or is it literally a case by case?
No, I'd say that's right. I'd say that the older players are generally more comfortable. But I have my fair share of younger kids that are, and younger, I mean like 11, 12, that are fantastic, outgoing, like engaged, so into it, so easy to talk to. So yeah, it is a little bit case by case, but in general, yeah, the older players are a little bit freer.
Halftime with the Friday Free Kick, Michael Parkhurst. That MF Parkhurst on the 280 character app, and our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring at BG Mentoring on the Twitters, where we get to talk about what it's like being a mentor and what it's like to sit there and bring everybody forward. We always talk about from a game perspective and from a franchise and league perspective, rising tide lifts all boats. And if we all have the same kind of information, we can all improve on everything. And I will admit that I get to learn from you every single time that you and Greg come on here on Fridays, because there are things that I get to carry forward when it comes to learning and mentoring and all these kinds of things. So when it comes to rubbing off on other individuals, has it sunk in over this last 2 years how much you've rubbed off on other folks, and how you tell somebody something and then it goes to somebody else and they tell two friends and so on and so on? Has it sunk in how many folks that the two of you and everybody there at BGM have impacted?
I don't know. I mean, we hope we are, right? But
It's a lot of hours. It's a lot of stuff that you guys are getting
is.
a chance to share, and you're putting in a lot of personal effort, and Greg's putting in a lot of travel and effort and all these kinds of things. I would think and I would hope that the messages that the two of you are sharing have been rubbing off on a lot of folks.
Yeah, no, I mean, we get great feedback. We do. We've got a lot of amazing people that we work with. Obviously, our partnership with Atlanta United wouldn't be occurring if they didn't think that we were providing value and they were hearing good feedback from their families. So, no, we think that we're in a good spot and growing, and we're enjoy what we do. Right, that's the most important thing. Is we feel like we're having an impact and we enjoy it. So, no, in that regard, it's awesome.
So when you get to see, even after, not immediate, but I mean, even if you were to circle back with folks after, 6 months, a year and a half, what's it like to have that reconnection with folks after you've gotten that initial mentoring and you see how they have improved and how they've rubbed off on others? What's it like for you and Greg to see that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, that's the best, right? Where you see that people are reaping the benefits of our conversations, and if we could just help just a little bit, right? It's not that people have success because of us. We hope that we just enhance a little bit of that success, or a small part of that person's success, or the reason why they're having success. And that's awesome, right? We want to see young individuals having success and reaching goals, and hopefully we play a small role in that.
If you won the lottery, or if you won Mega Millions,
now we're talking.
How would you make? What adjustments would you make to Beyond Goals? What would you add? Would you add branch offices? Would you bring in folks? What would you do to continue to take Beyond Goals mentoring to those next steps that I know that you and Greg want to take to?
I think that I would set up a nationwide thing where we recruit ex-professionals, MLS men, NWSL or former national team players on the women's side, so that they can all do what we're doing with Atlanta United locally in their areas, right? And just help them and guide them in the startup phase of it, and talk to the clubs about why they need this, because so many of the clubs that I speak to, they understand that it's a holistic thing, but they're still not providing it, or some provide it, here and there with, a doctor, a professional, which is great. It's an awesome thing. But sometimes younger players, they don't connect with a doctor professional as so much as they do an ex-professional. Right. And so that's what I would do, because it's just more needed. And not only from the mental side of things, right, but just the mentoring side of things, to just talk to guys every now and then. It makes a difference to the performance on the field as well.
When it comes to your speed dial, and outside of the folks that are immediately attached to Beyond Goals, how many folks are on your speed dial for advice when it comes to a particular student athlete, a parent, fellow professionals, dealing with mentoring? How many folks are on your speed dial?
A handful. I think I've got a handful of people that I can go to for advice, and different situations, and they can give me usually solid advice of their experiences, or different different ways to view things, and that's why having connections and relationships is important.
When it comes to all of these different individuals and advice, how much self-reflection do you give yourself? Otherwise, it would be just reflection if it wasn't self-reflection. But when it comes to self-reflection, how much time do you spend away from your mentoring to sit there and think about your mentoring and how you can improve? Because I know as an athlete, you would sit there and it's like, okay, there's practice time, and then there's time that you devote doing things off the field to improve yourself as an athlete. How much time do you spend away from mentoring in the immediate to think about how you can continue to improve as a mentor?
That's a good question, John. I do think that I read more now, and I think I mentioned this before. I read more now than I probably ever have, which honestly isn't saying a lot. But I do read more, and I don't just like to read, fictional books. If I'm reading, I'm trying to learn something. I think that time, but also just putting together presentations and, mixing things up, and just constantly kind of like evaluating ourselves of like, is that engaging enough for an 11-year-old? And is it, what's the difference between that and a 14-year-old and a 15-year-old and a college kid, right? Like some of the things that we talk about in the presentation, and boy versus girl. And do we have enough videos that have examples for women and girls, right? So they can see themselves, like all those types of things, just constantly trying to improve and learn from.
what was the last book that you read that has helped you in that regard? For Parky's Book Club, how would you who would be a part of Parky's Book Club that would be helpful in what you're trying to do and that might help others? What's the book club?
Actually, the latest book that I'm almost finished with is a book that my financial advisor gave me about like the mental side of finances and money, and just like how you view things, and like I don't know, just like not actually going after the money, but like enjoying yourself, and why do you want money, right? So that you can enjoy things and do stuff that you like to do. So making sure that you've got time to do those things. And it was just like a different view of kind of the world and why we work and what we do and all this stuff. And so I really enjoyed that. Not that it helps tremendously with mentoring, but that's the book that I'm reading right now.
Well, but I mean, it gets into the whole idea of working to live and living to work, and
Totally.
the differences in that. Because if we are all locked in and our head is down and we're not happy with what we're doing, then all we're doing is working to live. If I've got it phrased correctly, if I've got it lined up right, because you want to do things that you enjoy, you want to help others, and that's just, I think, part of our own natural DNA, where you want to be the opposite of just having your head down and punch in a time clock and sit there and go, great, I've got to get up, I've got to go to work again. There's no there. But when we get to help others, when we get to rub off on others, when we get to have shared messages like with what you and Greg are doing, that's the exact opposite of that. And there's a great deal of fulfillment that's attached to that, instead of just putting your head down and punching a time clock and, hoping you don't fall asleep in traffic behind the wheel.
Totally. Uh, totally. And how you relate that to kids, right? And just making sure you're having fun, right? If why do you play soccer, right? Especially when they're down, right? Why do you play soccer? I hope it's because you love it, right? So make sure you're doing it with a smile on your face, and you enjoy it. And hopefully we can do the same as adults, right? I know it's not all the time, right? But trying to find the joy that we can within each day.
When did you decide to do Beyond Goals mentoring? How were you were you done? Were you retired? And it's like, hey, I think this is a great idea. Was it something that you were thinking about as you were playing? What was the genesis of this in the first place?
Well, mentoring and just like helping out the younger guys was definitely something that I thought about while I was playing, and I brought up to the club. But it didn't go anywhere. Let's just leave it there. So it was definitely a thought of mine, but I never really started to like think about a company or building a business or doing it like that until I retired, and I started hanging around the academy a little bit. This was post-retirement, pre-COVID. In those short months there, where I was going out like once a week, twice a week, just to watch the academy kids train and be around and talk to them and stuff like that. And then I started working with Noah Cobb, and I was basically say, hey, Tony, who was the director at the time, let me talk to a kid. Let me mentor somebody that you think I should talk to. And it turned out to be Noah. And so just, having conversations with him and having conversations with his parents and all the questions they had, and just the guidance that I was trying to provide there, it just got me thinking like, man, this is just one player, but surely parents have these questions, all of them, and just other talented players. And, that's how it started, right? Working with the high level. And then we kind of were like, you know what, this messaging goes everywhere. So yeah, it was around that time.
What's it like for you to see Noah, who is part of the development at Center Back U up there at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground? What's it like to see Noah continue to grow? And I mean, Noah at 15, when he was with Atlanta United 2, he didn't care. He's just like, yeah, dude's twice my age. Cameron Lancaster's coming at me. Come on, bring it. He's just like this. And he has continued to grow in his confidence and evolve as a player. What's it like for you to see a guy like Noah, who has just literally just hit the ground running and has just turned into this comet as a center back talent?
Yeah, it's been great. Right. And yeah, he's He's a super talented young player, but he's also got a great head on his shoulders. He's a really good person, comes from a great family. And he's got a bright future. I think that it's always difficult to break in as a young center back for sure. I'm glad he's gotten a couple opportunities, and now with the twos, and that's not always an easy situation, bouncing back between first team and second team and straddling that line. So that's he's doing really, really well, and hopefully that trajectory just keeps going, because he's talented for sure.
All right, before you go, I've got to drop in an Atlanta United question in here. What have you thought about the 9,000 miles an hour offense that we're seeing with the acquisitions, and right now 9 goals in their last 2 home games, really doing a lot of work, and they've got an off week where they can kind of stare at everybody else. And what has it been like for you to see this group the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been exciting. Similar to everybody else, I think, in the fan base, right? It's kind of like, wow, this is awesome to have it back, right? And I saw some questions on Twitter about like, oh, what about the defense though? And I didn't answer them because I was just thinking about it. But I was like, if you're going to score 4 goals a game, right, you're going to have to commit numbers forward, and by doing that, you expose some things. But before, we were doing that and not scoring the goals. Now we're doing it and we're scoring the goals, right? So you're going to give up some goals when you try and be that high powered offensively, especially with the salary cap restrictions and just, and everything like that.
Don't get me started about the salary cap restrictions, sir.
So it's awesome though. I think the team's in a really good place right now. They're exciting. Knock on wood, they stay healthy. And, I don't think any team out there is going to want to play Atlanta United in the playoffs.
All right. So what's the latest with Beyond Goals mentoring? I know that we're in the college season. High school's coming up around the corner. National teams around the planet are doing friendlies. What's the latest with Beyond Goals?
Yeah, we speaking of national teams, exciting news about U.S. soccer and headquarters in Atlanta.
Yeah, man.
We're gonna do our best to see if Beyond Goals can have an impact there as well.
There you go.
Even though that's a little bit down the line, but
you got to start planning now, brother.
Totally. I may be making an appearance next week at an Atlanta United game.
Oh.
Yes, it could happen.
Okay. So in the industry, we call that a tease. And legitimately, it is a tease. So
that is a tease.
So, all right. So Michael might be making an appearance at a possible Atlanta United event down the line. We would kind of know what that would be because there's only one other home match left. So it might be something kind of like that.
Is next week the last home game
of the regular season? Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And then there's like this playoff thing that comes on after that. And we'll be looking forward to it. So there might be a Michael Parkhurst experience in Atlanta in the beginning of October. This is kind of what you're saying?
Could be, yes.
Okay. All right. So it could be. At MF Parkhurst on the Twitters, at BG Mentoring, here for the Friday Free Kick. It's always great, Cap, to catch up with you and Greg, find out about how Beyond Goals is continuing to grow and how you guys are impacting the next generation / generations of individuals. And it's real fun to catch up with you on a bunch of different things, but obviously let everybody know what's going on and how Beyond Goals Mentoring is just taken off. Love these conversations, and bring your 7-iron with you.
I wish. Don't tempt me, John.
I know. You'll sit there and go, no.
By the way, next time I'm on, hopefully we can talk about our first signing in RIFC history.
Ooh.
Made, but we can't announce yet.
Oh, okay. So when that happens, can I talk to executive Michael Parkhurst about getting his head coach for a 1v1 or have him live on the show or something?
Yes, absolutely.
Sweet. I'll do that. All right. Cap, be good. Have a good weekend. And we might see you in October down here in Atlanta.
Just might. See you again.
Thanks, my friend.